Let us have understanding of the next question. You have been engaged to evaluate an investment project overseas in a country called East Africa, which is a politically stable country. The project involves an initial cost of East African dollar 15,000 and it is expected to earn post-tax cash flows as follows. End of year 1 $7,500, end of year 2 $9,500. Further following information is available. The expected inflation rate in East Africa is 3% per year. Real interest rate of India as well as East Africa is same and it is expected to remain same during the currency of the project. This information is not required to be given, it is assumed even otherwise. Spot exchange rate is 2 East African dollar per rupee. Risk-free rate of interest in East Africa is 7% and in India it is 9%. Required return from the project is 16%. You may make suitable assumptions which should be generally acceptable in order to evaluate the project. Discounting factors have been given to us for first year and second year. This is the way information is given. I request all of you to go through the information of the question, please. Now friends, as far as this question is concerned, based on the information given to us in the question, we can do answer by two methods. I am explaining to you one by one method. First of all, I am doing method number 1 and this method is given a name as home currency approach. Dear students, over here, based on the information given, I hope that all of you must have understood that the question is providing the information that there is an Indian company which is considering doing business in East Africa. Like that information is given. Okay. We understand that over here it is year 0, year 1, year 2. The amount of the investment that we have to make is 15,000 East African dollar. Then we will get $7,500 and we will get $9,500. These are the cash flows in foreign currency term, that is in East African dollar currency term. We have been provided with the exchange rate. Spot exchange rate, that is the exchange rate today, it is 2 East African dollar per rupee. So 1 rupee is equal to 2 as East African dollar. So 15,000 East African dollar is equal to 7,500 rupees. Means we are required to make investment of 7,500 rupees, that is in the domestic currency. Why? Because I am adopting home currency approach for the purpose of doing answer. How to do answer with the alternative method, that I am going to discuss slightly later on. Now we understand that of course whatever the cash flows that I am going to receive in future, that is required to be converted into domestic currency, and then we will apply the relevant discounting factors for the purpose of making calculation of NPV. The exchange rate is East African dollar per rupee. This is the exchange rate. Now we'll make the calculation of the exchange rate for year 1 and year 2 end. As per the given information, you can see that we can make the computation of the forward exchange rate. East African dollar and a rupee. As far as the rate of interest is concerned, you have been provided with the information about the rate of interest. In East African dollar, it is 7%. And for India, it is 9%. This is 7% and this is 9%. Using the exchange, that is rate of interest and spot exchange rate information, we can compute that what would be the exchange rate likely to prevail at the end of the first year, at the end of the second year. Using that exchange rate, for example, just I'm taking assume values. Suppose it is 3 and this is 4. We'll make the calculation of the cash flows in rupees term. You have been provided with the discounting factor 16%. In absence of an information, we make an assumption that says this is the domestic currency cost of capital information given to us. Yes, you may be provided with the foreign currency adjusted cost of capital, but over here, say nothing that information is given. So we assume that say this is the domestic currency cost of capital, that is rupee currency cost of capital. Now using that as a discounting rate, we'll compute the present value. Whatever is the present value of the cash inflow, from that investment would be deducted for the purpose of NPV calculation. If NPV is positive, we will say that yes, we should accept the project. Otherwise, we should deny that the project should not be accepted. You may be having a point that, sir, what about the inflation rate information which is given to us in the first point? You can see that the East African dollar, that is East African currency, inflation rate is given to us. That is 3%. Dear students, we can just ignore that information. Why? Because we understand that say, if at all we compute the forward exchange rate, either using IRPT or we are using the triple PT, in either of the case it is going to be the same. Why? Because we make an assumption that the real rate of interest is same all over the world. And over here, in this question, we are fortunate enough that say that clarification is made. Even if that clarification is not made, we can make that assumption. In spite of this, if at all somebody wants that say, no sir, I want to calculate the forward exchange rate using triple PT only, no problem. What you have to do, friends, you are required to compute the inflation rate for rupee currency. Then using say the inflation rate for East African dollar and rupee currency, we will compute the forward exchange rate for rupees per East African dollar. Whatever the exchange rate such that you compute, using that exchange rate, so we will convert the foreign currency inflow of East African dollar into rupees, and then simply it will be discounted for the purpose of NPV calculation. So let us write down the answer for the question. Heading right down, decision making in bracket write down capital budgeting with forex. In that write down method number 1, in that write down home currency approach. In that write down working note number 1, calculation of inflation rate for rupee currency. I request all of you to make the calculation and post your answer in the chat box. Chalo, let us see how to calculate the answer. It is 1 plus rate of interest divided by 1 plus inflation rate is equal to 1 plus rate of interest divided by 1 plus inflation rate. One is for the East African dollar, and another is for rupee currency. For East African dollar, the rate of interest is provided to us as 7%. Inflation rate is given as 3%. For rupee currency, the rate of interest is 9%, and the inflation rate we do not know. Okay. So now the inflation rate for rupee currency can be found as balancing figure 1.09 into 1.03 divided by 1.07. So it is 4.9252. This is the way we are required to find the inflation rate. Working note number 2. Calculation of forward exchange rate for East African dollar per rupee for year 1 and year 2. So for first year and second year, we will compute answer. Let us do it with the method number 1, IRPT. Please post your answer. So we can make the calculation like this. Column number 1 is year, column number 2 is exchange rate. Dear students, the forward exchange rate will be found as spot into 1 plus rate of interest for left hand side currency raised to n whole divided by 1 plus rate of interest for right hand side currency raised to n once again. For the first year, it is 2 into rate of interest for East African dollar currency 7%, and for rupee currency it is 9%. 2 into 1.07 divided by 1.09, that comes to 1.9633. For the second year, it is 2 into 1.07 raised to 2 divided by 1.09 raised to 2. Dear students, we assume that the rate of interest is on annually compounded basis. So in that case, it is 1.9272, 1.9272 or 73 we can take. That is the way the exchange rate can be calculated for the first year end and second year end. Now there is one clarification that I want to give you. See over here the number of years are very less, so it's very simple for us to do it every time. Otherwise what we should do, 1.07 divided by 1.09. Whatever the answer that say you get, that you add in the memory plus. Okay, 0.9816, something like that. Now into what you can do, 2. You'll get the first year exchange rate 1.9633. Then you don't have to do anything else. Into memory recall is equal to, you'll get the second year rate. That is the way you will be able to find the rates. Why? Because the rate will depreciate at a constant rate on the yearly basis. So this is the way you can make the computation of the exchange rate. Working note number 3. Conversion of foreign currency into home currency. Dear students, the spot exchange rate is given to us 2 East African dollar per rupee. So what happens at say the East African dollar and a rupee? 2 East African dollar is equal to 1 rupee. So for 15,000 East African dollar, this is the amount of rupees. So it is 15,000 into 1, that does not make a sense, divided by 2. It means that the cash flow in East African dollar term divided by the exchange rate, that is the way we are supposed to calculate the answer. Dear students, this step sounds to be very simple, and you may think that say we may that is say skip this step. However, my suggestion is that always make sure that say you that is do the step. The reason behind that is, what happens number of times students are committing a silly mistake for conversion of the foreign currency into home currency. Instead of dividing, they multiply. That is the reason say I suggest all of you to do this answer. That is to do this working note. And the last is working note number 4. Last is calculation of NPV. NPV calculation is extremely simple, friends. We understand that over here it is year 0, year 0, end of year 1 and end of year 2. This is the cash flow. It is 15,000 East African dollar in the year 0, 7,500 at the end of the first year, 9,500 at the end of the second year. Exchange rate East African dollar per rupee 2. Then first year end it is 1.9633. Second year it is 1.9273. Now this cash flow, which is in East African dollar term, will be converted into rupees term. So we'll get the cash flow in rupees term. This is in East African dollar term. Calculation of NPV is ready. So what will happen? It is 15,000 divided by 2. That is 7,500 is outflow. 7,500 divided by 1.9633. It is 3,820.09. 9,500 divided by 1.9273. So 4,929.18. This will be discounted at the rate of 16%. That is the discounting rate provided to us. And based on that, we will compute the present value. This is in the rupees term. So present value of the cash and flow, from that investment is deducted, and based on that, the NPV is found. Friends, over here, I'm sorry, one thing that I forgot is this. After calculating this with the method number 1, I wanted to calculate the same with the second method, that is by using the IRPT. So we'll be doing this working note alternatively like this. Working note number 2, calculation of the forward exchange rate. In that, instead of IRPT, if at all we do with triple PT, then what will happen? That's we will be doing once. So over here, method number 2, I am doing it over here. Method number 2, it is purchasing power parity theorem. In that, once again, as far as year 1 is concerned, it is 2 into 1.03 divided by 1.049252. This is for end of year 1. Similarly, we will do it for the second year. 2 into 1.03 raised to 2 divided by 1.049252 raised to 2. This is the way the exchange rate will be calculated for first year and second year. It is East African dollar per rupee. And then we'll do the NPV calculation. So 2 into 1.03 divided by 1.049252. So 1.9633 is the answer. So 1.9633 into 1.03 once again divided by 1.049252. So it is 1.9273. East African dollar per rupee. Of course, the answer is bound to be same. However, just a confirmation that say doing answer by either of the method, it will lead to the same exchange rate. So now friends, we are supposed to discount the cash flows. This 7,500 is calculated as 15,000 divided by 2. The next year it is 7,500 divided by 1.9633. And for the second year it is 9,500 divided by 1.9273. So these are the cash flows in rupees term which will be discounted. 7,500 into 1 is 7,500 because year 0 factor is always 1. 3820.09 into 0.8621. So 3293.30. 4929.18 into 0.7432. So 3663.37. And based on this, we can find NPV. 3663.37 plus 3293.30 minus 7,500. So unfortunately NPV is negative. So the company would be advised not to accept the project. This is what we understand. Please write an answer. So this is the negative NPV. So the conclusion is do not accept the project. That is a conclusion. The reason for that is as NPV is negative. Full stop. Let us have a small summary of the home currency approach. This question is about the decision making. The first method is home currency approach. In that, say first of all, we compute the inflation rate for rupee currency. Of course, it was not required to be calculated. Yet, as it was an initial question, so I made the calculation. Then forward exchange rate calculation for East African dollar per rupee using IRPT and using triple PT. It is calculated for first year and second year. Then conversion of the foreign currency into home currency. This working note is just to make sure that there is no silly mistake. So not very significant working note. And of course, so that this answer is very important, this working. This is the cash flow in East African dollar term. Using the exchange rate, it has been converted into domestic term. Importantly, we are making an assumption Let's say the given discounting rate is for domestic currency, and based on that, say the NPV is calculated. Unfortunately, NPV is negative, so we advise the company not to accept the project. Now we'll proceed for the second method, that is foreign currency approach.